this is Kat with Beadaholique, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make the Matubo Wrapit Loom bracelets. Now these bracelets are exclusive Beadaholique kits, and we have 4 beautiful colorways here for you to choose from. So first off, we have this beautiful brown, bronze, and teal, and it features a little gold bee as our button. And then we also have a little bit more of a pink and teal here, a little turquoisey, and that has a little flower button in silver. And then we have 2 here, and this one is really neat. So it's a blue on blue, and I thought the shell bead was really perfect for that button. And then we also have a black and hematite with some jet Picasso beads. So that is going to be really, really lovely. So once you have whichever color you've bought, you can follow along with this video and the technique is going to be the same. So in your kit, you're going to get your 2 colors of your Matubo 2.0 beads. You're going to get your leather cord. You're also going to get some glue. You're going to get a twisted wire needle. We'll talk about that later. You're going to get your button and your griffin silk. Now, you'll also get the Wrapit Loom here, and I'm going to show you how to construct that if you purchase the full kit. Now, at Beadaholique here, we have full kits and refill kits. So what that means is that if you've bought one of our full kits before, so let's say you've bought this one as a full kit and you have your loom and your glue, you can buy the refill kit for this kit and you'll get just the beads, the cord, your button, your needle, and your cord here. So you won't be receiving an extra loom. And it's at a discounted price, so it's really great. So you can buy one full and then get the others as refills so you can make all of them. Now, the only things that you'll need to provide for yourself is some sort of scissors or snips or cutters. I like to use flush cutters here, but you can also use scissors, so you'll see me use both here today. And then we also recommend a little toothpick or 2 for some glue that we're going to add to the end of our bracelet. Now, some other things to keep handy is a ruler here. And I like to keep a little pad of sticky notes, that way I can put my glue on here so it's not on my work surface. So if you have everything ready to go, let's go ahead and get started. All right, the first thing we need to do is we are going to set up our loom. So yours is going to have one track here and it's got this end on this side. So the first thing we need to do is we need to match it up with our end that looks like this. And this has those little jaws here that is going to be the front of our loom piece. So go ahead and just slide this on and it should fit right over there and kind of click into place, just like so. And now we have these little feet. We have 2 of them. And what these are going to do is we're going to fit one in that little second notch there. Just go ahead and press that in. You'll kind of hear it click. And then the other one down here, and we'll see that click in there. Now, this is going to be our movable track. And what you do is you just put it on this way. And it slides on, and you should be able to slide that around. So now we have our loom set up. So let's move on, and we got to get our actual piece set up. So go ahead and set that aside. And I've laid out the piece that we're going to be working with here so you can see some length, and we're going to talk about some sizing here first. So go ahead, and the first thing that you're going to do is take your little button, and you're just going to thread your leather through, and then bring the 2 ends of the leather together all the way down to the center. You'll have a yard of leather to work with here. All right, so match up our ends. And let's go all the way back here. So we have our B at the end, or our button, whichever button you have. And now what we're going to do is we're going to tie an overhand knot. So just go ahead and bring that around and try to keep it as central as possible. Put the button through the center, and we are going to just tie our knot. And you can see with my fingers, I'm just trying to scooch that knot up close to that button, as close as I can get it. All right, so we have our first knot there. Now, if you've made one before, you can use your own as a guide. However, you can't go directly knot to knot here because you'll notice that it opens up and there's a little bit of space there. So we want to leave some extra space. So let me bring in my ruler so I can show you. So on my piece here, about knot to knot is just about 7¼ inches, but we want to accommodate and leave a little extra space. So when we go to the end of our unfinished piece here, I want to get that knot closer between that 7½ and 7¾ there. All right, so that's where we're going to try to tie our first little knot. And now, again, I'm just kind of holding it with my fingers so I don't lose my place there. Get that knot up as close as you can. Now this is where you want to make sure that your pieces are even. So you can kind of pull tight and then scooch, 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 and make sure that that knot is, yeah, all right, that actually worked out really well. It's right between about 7.5 and 7 3/4. All right, so that is our first knot. Now, when you go to make your second knots here, these are going to accommodate the button. So when you're looking at that distance, just make sure that your button is going to fit through easily. Now, this is a really easy way to size this, and you can see that we've given you more than enough cord. In fact, it's longer than my piece that I have finished there. So let's go ahead and make that second knot, and we're just going to start there because this second knot is going to be crucial when we have it on the loom. And again, just kind of scooch with your fingers. The leather is really nice and forgiving, so you'll be able to kind of stretch it out a little bit, and it will stretch over time as well. So yeah, so there we go. And you can always just match it up with your button. You can even try putting it through just to make sure that it's going to go through nice and easily, just like that. Okay, now I'm not going to worry about that third knot that you see there, but what you can do, and I'm going to show you this at the end, is that those extra knots are for extra buttonholes. So if you wanted to make it a little bit longer, that's the way you're going to be able to adjust the size on this. All right, so let's get everybody nice and tight there. And now I can go ahead and set that guy aside. The next thing I'm going to do here is bring my Griffin silk in, and this has a little needle on the end of it. So I'm going to start taking this off of the card. Now you don't have to worry about stretching this one out too much because it's going to kink, but I just kind of like to give it a little tug as it's coming off the card there. Just kind of run it through your hands. So on this Griffin silk, you'll have one end that has a needle and the other end that does not. And I bet you can guess what we're going to do with our little twisted wire needle there. He is going to go on the end without the needle. But let's get this centered on our piece first before we worry too much about that. All right. Now you will need to kind of straighten your needle here, and you can just sort of do that with your fingers. Just kind of get that unkinked. Perfect. We can set our little card aside. You can also use this for your glue as well if you don't have Post-it notes handy, so don't throw that away just yet. All right. Now we have that set and ready to go. Let's set up our loom and get our piece in there. So I like to kind of work where it's just vertical right to me. I'm going to try to turn it just a little bit so you can see as though you're looking over my shoulder. And what you're going to do is you're going to press open these little jaws here and set your button inside. So we want that not exposed. We also want those two cords to be sitting side by side, not on top of each other. So side by side there, and then come all the way down to this end. I'm just going to push this up here. Come all the way down to this end, and what we're going to do is we're going to set this piece here into the side. So let me kind of turn this over and show you what that's going to look like. So you're going to set it in right into the loom, just like so. All right, so that's what it looks like. That's exactly where it goes. There's a little notch there just for that. And then we're going to take our slider and we're going to pull it back, and you're going to start to hear it click. Okay, and you should have some tension there. So we are all set and ready to go to start adding in those beads. All right, so now take your Griffin silk, and I like to always work with it in my right hand. It will switch as you see us cross over. But the main thing is to get this so that it is centered on your piece here. So you lay it over the top, and then what you're going to do is what is in your right hand is going to go down and underneath and wrap around to the right. So you can pull that out. And what's in your left hand is going to go down and around and pull that out. So what we have here is it looks like this. Okay? So now you're not going to be able to see this because it's going to be really high when I try to do it on camera here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these up and I'm going to measure them to make sure that they are the exact same length, because I want to make sure that this starts right in the dead center. So I'm a little off, so all I can do is just kind of wiggle it around a little bit until it gets to the center there. All right, so now I'm central. Let me go ahead and separate my cords. And again, make sure that your cords aren't crossing over. You want them to be open, just like this. So we're going to slide this all the way up to the top there. Right, almost so it's hidden underneath there. And now we can come in. And if you look at my example here, you'll notice that we have two colors. And one of the colors starts it because we need to open up that leather. And then down here, the other color finishes it. So you can choose however you want to do it. So in this example, we're going to start with that green bead. So go ahead and, oops, before we do that, I almost forgot. We need to come to the side without the needle, whichever hand that's in, it doesn't matter. Go ahead and pick up your twisted wire needle, and it has this tiny little eye to it right there. And all we're going to do is just slide that over our griffin silk. Oops. Slippery little sucker. Slide it over our griffin silk. And you can slide it down. And this is why some of those notches are really nice. And it has a little collapsible eye, so we want to go ahead and collapse that. So we're just going to pull it and just give it a little bit of a pinch, just to make sure that it is nice and secure on our silk. Okay, so now we should have our 2 needles, 1 in each hand. So go ahead and pick up one of your green beads here. Put 1 needle going through, so this is the one in the right hand. So I'm going to bring it all the way across to the left. And the left hand needle, I'm going to go through that bead. And bring that all the way across to the right. And pull through. And what you're going to see happen is this is going to fit right inside of our piece. So it kind of opens that up, as you can see. Now, take what's in your right hand, go down and around, and bring it through. And take what's in your left hand, go down and around, and bring it through. Now, we're ready to start our process here of adding 2 beads. So now, go ahead and pick up your 2 beads, and I like to do this all in one fell swoop here, and go all the way through, and crisscross over, and taking your left hand cord and crisscross over. So this is a different kind of style of loom, but what's lovely about this is you're actually going to see those cords on the outside just kind of wrap and wrap and wrap, and I think that's really fun. So now take what's in your right hand, go down and around and out. What's in your left hand, down and around and out. All right, so now same process, but we want to make sure that our pattern stays the same here. So I like to always pick it up with my right hand. That's just sort of a good reminder for me. Now you can pick up one at a time. So you can pick up your kind of bronzy pink bead and then your turquoise bead there. And you can always just make sure. Bring it through. I like to kind of hold these, which is nice. And then go through. So this is really the whole process here for this pattern. And because these beads are, 2-0, they are really nice and big. And you can also do this in one step too, once you get the hang of it. All right, so I'm going to continue to bead all the way down here to the end. And I'm going to come back right before I add that last little bead. So go ahead and add all of your beads here to see the end. Now, I will say this, if you do want a significantly shorter bracelet, what I recommend is once you get to about here, go ahead and stop, because you can always take these knots out because they're not glued or anything. Go ahead and stop and kind of wrap it around your wrist. Just give it a little, assessment of how big you really want that to be, so we can adjust from there. So I'll talk about that a little bit more when I come back, and we're going to talk about some more finishing techniques. So before adding your final bead, you can see that I've let this relax a little bit, and by doing that, or how you do that, is you just kind of kick this back here on the back end, and you'll kind of let it fall and relax. And the reason I recommend this is so that that leather can, because it's been stretched out, so it might shrink a little bit. So you want to make sure that your knot here at the end is just large enough to accommodate one more bead. We don't want to have it be too tight, because otherwise your beads will kind of crunch together. We also don't want to have it too loose, because we don't want a big gap back here. So once you've kind of let it relax for a second, let's go ahead and pull it back. And now once you get to this stage, and I'm sure you've realized once you get to about that stage, it's harder to get your fingers down there. So you just kind of take your needle on each side and make sure you're doing your wraps this way. So you just kind of adjust your method there, so it's a little bit more tight as you get to the end. And now, because we did our green bead in the front, we are going to pick up our bronzy pinky red bead here and slide that onto one and crisscross onto our second side and bring that down to the center, just like so. Now, we do want to wrap again one more time. So let's go ahead and bring our needle and make sure that it's coming up through that little tiny triangle that's left there. And coming to our other side here, just thread our needle right up through there. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take both of our cords and we're just going to tie an overhand knot and bring those cords all the way down and together. Give it a nice good tug there. And for a little extra security, let's go ahead and add one more knot and bring that down. Perfect. Now coming to our E6000 over here. Now if you have a fresh tube of E6000, you can just open it by using that little bottom piece there and just putting it in there and it's open, but you can see that mine is already open. So what I'm going to do is just add just the tiniest little bit to our work surface there and set that aside. And then come in with one of your toothpicks here. You can also use a little scrap of wire that works just as good. All right, and now coming back over here to your loom, what we're going to do is we're going to add a nice big dab of glue right on top of that knot there. All right, very nice. There we go. We want to make sure this is nice and secure. Perfect. So for added security, we are going to do one more little knot. And it's going to go right on top of that glue there. So it's going to kind of all soak that up. And if you want, you can just add a little bit more on top there. You can see the color change just a little bit with that griffin silk. So now, assuming I have properly let this dry for about, I'd say 20 minutes to an hour at least, what we're going to do is we're going to come in and we're going to trim off our little ends using our scissors. And now we can set our little scraps aside. All right, so let's go ahead and take this out of our loom. So let's go ahead and kick it back and slide this out one side and open up our jaws on this side. And now we can remove our loom. Look how beautiful that looks. Lovely. All right, and it should wrap really nice and easily around the wrist. And this is an opportunity for you to adjust that sizing one more time. So what I like to do is, especially if you're giving this as a gift, let's give them an added knot here at the end. And you can go ahead and come through and just create that extra space there for that other button to fit through. So they can fit it through here if they want, or here. This is a little bit big. Let me scooch that forward. I don't want it to be too big. There we go. That's a little bit better. Perfect. All right, just double checking again. That'll be nice. All right. Now you'll see that you do have some extra cord still, so if you wanted to add more knots, you're welcome to do so. You will also probably have some extra beads left over. Again, if you've made it shorter, you can still do this technique where you're adding extra knots here. And then whenever you are done, you can come, and I'd go about an inch out. And this is where I like to use my flush cutters if you have them. And you can cut through your little leather there, and you have some lovely tiny little scraps that you probably can't use for anything. All right, so you have that, and that is why I recommend you can have the flush cutters or the scissors. The scissors also will cut through the leather if you are curious about that. So whichever you have on hand will work. All right, so that is how you make the Matubo Wrapit Loom Bracelet Kits by Beadaholique. Now these are the 4 colorways we have here one more time for you, and you can get all of these by heading over to beadaholique.com. You'll also get all of the tools and supplies you'll need as well. And just to let you know, if you are new here to our YouTube channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button below so you don't miss a thing from Beadaholique.